Hi everybody, it's just Kim. I know I've gone live a couple days in a row and I apologize for that. But I wanted to thank all of you who reached out about Zacs being in the hospital yesterday and kind of give you a little detail. It was kind of a little trip from hell. And kind of again why I struggle with what's going on in our medical field. It was very, very frustrating. So just a little bit of, about Zacs. Zacs usually is a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. He's a lot of smiles and pretty easy to get along with. And over the last course of the month, he's kind of been exhibiting some pain stuff going on, whether it's pain that he's starting to feel because he can't feel really from his chest down very much. A little bit once in a while, like if you pinch on his leg, he can tell you're pinching on his right leg or something like that. But anyway, so he's been arching his back. He had a UTI we knew about, but then I got some blood work back yesterday, which showed some elevated or decreases in areas that should be elevated. And so I got a little bit more concerned because he was very grumpy and, telling me to leave him alone. I'll post a video in the comments. Very untypical stuff of Zac over the last few weeks. So when I got those results back, it made me concerned that possibly he had a kidney stone or something like that he was starting to feel. Because like I said, he can't really feel and tell us what hurts. And if you ask him if something hurts, he'll tell you it doesn't, but then his behavior is very bizarre. So anyway, we go to this hospital and the front people are very nice, very, cordial. We get checked in. They take his name, give him his insurance cards, all that kind of stuff. Well, the hospital was crowded. Anyway, they had no beds, so he had to sit in his chair. They did put us in what they call fast track, which like I said, we're new to this state, so there's different things that happen in their system here that I'm trying to get used to or learn about. So they put us in what they call the fast track where there's no bed, so he had to stay in his chair. So he wasn't urinating properly, which usually means constipation, which we knew that. I mean, poor Zac's been constipated for 14 years, and it's always a struggle because you can't push when you can't feel. So it's something we're very aware of. But the main reason I was there was for this pain issue that he was having, hoping that it wasn't a kidney stone or something like that. So anyway, we get in there and they come in and everyone so far is very nice. The aide comes in and he does his blood pressure and tells me about his traumatic brain injury. And he asked me the same questions 3 different times he came in. So I'm assuming he's still struggling with some brain injury, but very nice. And then the next gal came in to do an ultrasound of his bladder, which showed that it was very full, which I knew. And she was very, very nice too. She went to do it first and the machine didn't work. It wasn't charged, so she had to go back out and get another machine and blah, 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 blah. But he's still sitting in his chair. And when he's sitting, he has a harder time urinating. So we didn't get any urine out of him. So I knew his bladder was going to show that it was very, very full, which of course it did. And so we're sitting there and waiting, and all of a sudden the same gal comes walking in and she's got all this equipment. I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm putting a Foley catheter in him." I said, "No, you're not." And I said, "Why would you do that before we have any test results?" And she goes, "Well, the nurse said I had to." And I said, "Send the nurse in, because I haven't seen a nurse yet and nobody's talked to me about this." So I have fought for 14 years to keep a Foley out of Zac because of the infection issues and that kind of stuff. We have a little bit of that goes on. You have a Foley, you tend to have quite a bit of that going on. Plus, it's hard to go places. They fall out or they get pulled out. Anyway, long story short, so that's why I said no. I said, until I know. I said, so the nurse comes in and I said, "So why are we doing this before we know what any of the test results are?" And she said, "You know what, you have one choice here. If you're not going to accept the Foley catheter, you're going to have to sign a waiver that if his bladder bursts, that it's not our responsibility." And she was so rude. And she did it all with a smile on her face, which I wanted to punch her because she was you could just tell she's one of those people that she's always right. And she's got this smile on her face. It's very condescending. Anyway, so she comes in, she goes, "Well, I'm going to go get some," she goes, "It could be a couple hours before we get his CT scan done. And it could be an hour after that before we even get his results, blah, 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 blah." So she says, I'm going to go get a form. I'm going to make something that you have to sign it that you're not going to come after us when his bladder explodes. And I could see his bladder was very full, but it wasn't maxed out at like 600 or anything like that. A bladder holds 400 to 600 milliliters. He was like 4 or something. So I wasn't that upset about it at this point in time. And to come in and try to put a Foley in him just didn't make a lot of sense to me until we knew, is there something else going on? So anyway, right after she leaves, they come and get him for his CT scan. So I walk down with him for the CT scan so I can do the transfer onto the CT table and get all that stuff done. And they were very, very nice. And Zach cooperated, got the CT done, and it showed, of course, that he was very constipated. Duh, Zach's always constipated. So, but it showed no kidney stones, no bladder stones, so that was a relief. So we get him back to the room, and the doctor comes in and says, I've got good news for you. He's just really constipated. Well, duh, I knew that, you know. This is what's weird to me. When you see someone like Zach, if you were working in a hospital, if you were a doctor or a nurse or anything, and you see someone like Zach who comes in a wheelchair, has someone who has to speak for him, is, you know, obviously got, you know, mental deficiencies, cognitive deficiencies, wouldn't you ask what happened to that person? Do you know that not one single person yesterday, except for the orderly with the traumatic brain injury, asked me what happened to Zach? What is wrong with him? What does he have? Not one. I'm talking the rude, smiley nurse and the doctor. They never asked. It wasn't filled out on a form. I never gave the information to anybody. Not one single person asked me what was wrong with Zach. On top of that, not one single person touched Zach. The doctor didn't touch his abdomen and say, you know, even ask him, does this hurt? Does this hurt? I had a video of Zach throwing his little fit when he was in pain. And I asked him, do you want to see this? He didn't even want, it was 13 seconds. He didn't even want to see that. So I guess that's what I come back to when I talk about my frustration with the medical field. I love some doctors. There are some doctors out there, and this guy was a nice enough guy, but you didn't even touch my son. You didn't touch his stomach. You didn't touch it. You didn't even ask him a question. You didn't do anything but look at a scan and make a determination about somebody's pain and then try to tell me it's from constipation, which, come on, I'm not stupid. I've been doing this a long, long time. So then when I guess the trauma came in and the doctor had to go with the trauma, I get that, no big deal. But the nurse, I said, so can we go? And she said, no, he has to fill out the paperwork. He's in a trauma. He'll just be a couple minutes. So about another half hour went by, and she finally comes in and she said, well, he's busy. He said, not to even worry about the diagnosis. Here's your paperwork. And I said, you know, this is really ridiculous. I said, this is not from constipation. This is from something else. I guess we'll go to another doctor. And I grabbed the paperwork and I left, and she just smiles at you because she just, that condescending smile. But anyway, so Zach is okay. Zach is home. Both Chet and I discussed today, I think that part of what's kind of going on with him is that maybe his transmitters he's feeling pain in areas he hasn't felt before. That's my hope, although I don't want him to feel pain because that really breaks my heart. But his cognition when he doesn't feel well goes way down too, and it's even harder to communicate with him. And you could see in the video yesterday, you know, he was not a happy camper. He was sitting up, his back, it seemed like his back was hurting him, kidney area. But like I said, we did kind of get that cleared. So we do have an appointment with another doctor. We're going to go about this another direction. We're also, like I said, getting in touch with in Florida, they have medical marijuana, and going to try to maybe help with some of his pain there because Zach has dystonia, his body, like he holds his left arm can work, but his brain won't let his left arm work. So it's always in the same position and held very, very, very tight. So I think that a lot of that happens with his internal organs as well, is that his mind stops them from functioning quite the way they're supposed to. So there's a lot of intervention on my part with him for that area. But anyway, I didn't want to make this too long. I just wanted to come on and tell you guys kind of what happened yesterday, that after I think we were there almost 5 hours, we came home with absolutely nothing. Oh, they wanted me to give them the stuff you give people when they get colonoscopies. Now, obviously, this doctor has never cleaned up shit off of walls, floors, and everything else. I have. When I was back in the caregiving business, I did it. When taking care of my son, I mean, I know what happens when you take that stuff. When you have someone who can't feel what's going on with them, it turns into this very huge mess everywhere. So I wasn't going to do that. And like I said, we've been dealing with this 14 years anyway. I have my other ways, you know, we'll deal with it the way we always deal with it. And so, but that was kind of the roundup of yesterday. We have no answers on it. I'm hopefully going to get referred with a neurologist here so that we can head over to Mayo. Zach's due for another MRI. Like I said, I think what's happening with him is that he's starting to feel things that he hasn't felt before, and that's where this pain part is coming from. So anyway, guys, again, I just want to thank you for all your good wishes and all your blessings that you sent us while we were there yesterday. It was a frustrating day. Zach is feeling a little bit better today. He's still in bed and he's peeing like a racehorse right now. So anyway, I'm going to get him up and get him in the shower here. He wanted to stay in bed and eat because he's not feeling 100%. And get him up, and then we'll do our evening stuff. But again, thank you guys so much for checking in, watching, paying attention, following us. I really do appreciate that. And if you need anything, have any questions or anything, just send me a note. Take care, you guys. Love you all. Bye.